Controlled Chaos with your hosts, Liz and Allie.
I'm Liz, the writer.
And I'm Allie, the publicist.
We are your quintessential 40-something besties who dive headfirst into all things pop culture.
Think motherhood, relationships, hot stories taking over your newsfeed, and of course, the latest gripping true crime mysteries.
This is Controlled Chaos, your much-needed weekly pop culture juice.
Drink up! All right, let's rock and roll. Guys, welcome back.
It's Controlled Chaos, here reporting live from my carport.
Full disclosure, we've tried to record this episode maybe 500 times.
This is how it is. We've got two babies napping at the same time and like no room of your own anymore. So here I am in my carport recording this episode. So let's do this.
We hope the sound works. If not, we'll improve it in the future. We promise. Just stick with us, okay?
Yeah, just give us a shot.
Just give us a shot. We're not perfect, okay?
Take pity on us, okay? I'm in my carport.
And I may or may not be wearing pants, but that's okay.
Anyway, we're here. We're obviously going to talk about the Super Bowl or the big game. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to say Super Bowl. You know, they have a big rule about that back when I used to do branded PR. But we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, okay? I'm saying it. And, you know, the fairy tale ending that everyone, including the NFL, wanted to happen. They couldn't have scripted a better ending to their whole deal. She made it from Tokyo. They won. They had the big kiss in the end. They won in overtime. It was actually kind of a snoozer of a game the first half. And then it really picked up. And, you know, Kelsey he'd passed his 1 yard, which I thought was hilarious. So he was kind of not doing so well at first. Just because, you know, it was a little funny. And then he killed it and they won and everything was great. So everyone got their ending. And the Usher, we're going to get into Usher a little bit on this episode, you know, about the halftime show there. And just, you know,
halftime shows in general, right? And like the whole
shows in general and kind of what we think, you know, the progression of them as a whole and just overall, like, you know, there's a lot of people that say that Monday should be a holiday because everyone parties at the Super Bowl, which I think it said 16 million people call out of work today. Something crazy.
I wonder why. And, you know, we don't know the numbers for sure yet. By the time this comes out, we'll have them, but probably the most watched Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say it probably is. Right now, the record holder is last year because it was the Kelsey Bowl, Travis versus Jason, brother versus brother, which Travis obviously won, and it's a big deal. They got 2 in a row. The only other person who's done that is Tom Brady. So that was a big deal. And this year, though, I think Taylor has more power than Kelsey versus Kelsey. That's just, there's no way this isn't the most.
And now there's a chance for a 3-fer, right? Because now they've won 2 in a row. So that's a big deal.
And maybe next year as his wife.
Right. It's funny you say that because at the end, when they were accepting awards, you see Patrick Mahomes' wife has 2 kids. And I'm like, obviously Taylor's not there. She's not quite there yet in the relationship, but I just had those like, you know, future moments of like, what's this going to be like a year from now, right? Just 1 year.
Who knows?
Gonna be up there with him with an engagement ring and like,
who knows what's going to happen by next year? I mean, it's exciting to think about, but yeah, it was a cute moment. And, you know, there's been talks, and we talked about this earlier about, of course, they cut to Taylor about every other play, especially any play that Travis was involved in. And, you know, I was having a debate with my husband last night. He's like, it just looks so staged. And I'm like, yeah, but this is her stage. I just sort of feel like when that's your life and your normal life is to be watched, I don't think it's fake. I think it's just her normal.
First of all, for years since she came out, she's known as being the cameo girl at all the award shows.
Dances every song.
Right. They always cut to her because she's always having the most fun. She's energetic. She's always dancing with her friends.
What shit on that? Like, great, you know?
Amazing, yes. And there's been it's so funny how like the conservative, you know, propaganda machine started rolling right after. Like I saw stories about the fact that she had like, you know, a plane on standby in Tokyo just in case. And it's like, so what? This is a big deal. It was one time a year. Yes, she's traveling the world doing tours. She's going to have private planes. She's going to be emitting a lot of things into the environment, and it's going to happen. But you know what?
Even if it is fake, is it okay to fake and be a little and be if it's positive? I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm just saying, well, who cares? She's happy. She's putting good energy out there. Let it be.
And then why not cut to her all the time? It is her boyfriend on
and it's also who people want to see. I mean, the media is just doing their job. People, I mean, and I read people watch that Super Bowl for her last night than for the actual game.
Did you know though that like they don't know when the cameras are going to come on them, and there's only a few of them, I guess, and they just somehow they always find the celebrities. I don't know how they do that and who's responsible for that, but
it's just like they showed Leo just like this.
Right.
They show Jeff Goldblum like
because some of them like it and some of them want their hats on the late.
I totally loved Jeff Goldblum when he was so funny. But yeah, some of the celebrities embrace it, some of them don't, and I think Taylor Swift always does, or just tries to pretend like she's having, or not pretend, just she maybe just is having a great time with her posse all the time. I thought it was great. great.
I did too. I loved her drop-ins too. Lana Del Rey. She had Blake as like her bestie now, which I thought for once, like Blake Lively's always headlining. It's like she's on the, the side.
She's not the it girl anymore. She's the sidekick.
Right, which is a weird thought. And I saw that Miles Teller was in there, and there was a bunch of other, people that came in. Obviously, Travis Kelsey's parents. I think Taylor's parents were there. So it was an event. It was a moment.
It was a great situation. Then we had Usher.
Well,
Usher
I was just gonna say it's hard to imagine, just to close it off on Taylor, had they not won, what that ending would have been like, because that was quite, like you were saying before, like the fairy tale, like you had the close up, you had him like mouthing, "Come on, girl, get over here, girl."
Well,
like,
first of all, we will never close it off on Taylor, just in our entire podcast lives. Second of all, you're right. That would have been a totally different thing. And we forgot to mention that Travis had a little heated drama that just went viral in about 2 minutes where, I'm sure you guys saw he was super heated and like kind of went up to his coach and like shoved him a little bit, not shoved him, like body checked him a tad, which I don't think even would have made headlines at all if this was like, do you see times like people, like, I'm not saying it's okay. I mean, he did look kind of like roided out and crazy, but like Tom Brady threw his clipboards at his players, all that. People yell all the time, and it's a Super Bowl. These guys are like crazy, beefed up testosterone athletes. Not saying it's okay to shove an old man. I'm just saying that would not have made headlines if it wasn't Taylor's boyfriend.
There's a lot of things that wouldn't have made headlines. It
was everywhere. It was like, oh my gosh, he's appalling. I'm like, okay.
It's so over the top. What do you think about Travis's matching outfits? He's like Mr. Fashionista over there when he's
I don't know about Travis's looks. I don't know. His fashion's definitely but it's kind of funny. To me, it kind of makes me feel like I like the whole, like, I don't care, this is just what I wear. But like, he
doesn't give a shit.
He's really got a look. Yeah.
I like that about him. Yeah,
me too.
I'm excited to see where their relationship goes. And so is everyone else in this world.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be interesting now. Like, football's over, right? And it's sort of like,
I was talking about this last night. Like, this is a big deal now for their relationship, right? Like, she's still on tour.
Is their relationship going to fade now that, like,
not
fade, but it's been such a double brand phenomenon? It's be interesting to see now that I read that he's gonna go on tour with her. Did you read that? I read that he's going on
but that's just amazing.
That's what I read. Who knows if it's true, but I read that just today, that he's gonna go on the Eras tour with her, which would be,
why wouldn't he? What else is he gonna do? Take a break, relax? Yeah, this is gonna be like,
he has like 2 weeks off till he starts footballing practice again. So
well, true. It comes up pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. I don't see why not. Why wouldn't he? So that's what I read. We'll see if
I just can't imagine dating someone in such like a competitive like field like that, like to deal with all the ups and downs of the emotions. And then on top of it, you're like at the top of your game, performing in front of hundreds of thousands of people. It's different though. It's not competitive, right? She gets off a stage every night. She might feel a little differently, but she did a great performance. He's winning or he's losing. So it's different for him.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that a little bit. Like, they're both in such different, similar industries, because they're both honestly, the NFL, it's performers too. It's entertainment.
100, yes.
The NFL is. Yes, they're athletes, but we're paying for entertainment, just like her. They're entertainers. But it's interesting that there is no it just almost seems too perfect. There's no real competition. He's like the star football player. She's the star, pop star, singer, performer. Okay. But I'm really interested, like we said, to see what's going to happen now that football's died down, and he's going to be kind of like a side piece for a little while, because she's still going tour, and he's going to just be kind of tagging along. So we'll see what goes on.
Yeah, I think their relationship will flourish, to be honest.
I hope so. Like I said,
we know we're fans.
I'm into it. I've never
embrace hugging, kissing. But
let's talk a little bit about Usher. Let's get into Usher.
Let's talk about Usher. Okay, so Usher. So first and foremost, we grew up with him. We love him.
We all the hits. Usher. There's a lot of hits. We know all of his hits. I used to drive to Tallahassee to visit my boyfriend, playing nothing but like Caught Up and like all those songs he was playing last night. But I thought it was kind of like the Super Bowl itself. Started out a little slow, just sort of like, blah blah blah, and then like kicked up major when he brought out Luda and Lil Jon, and the last song, which is obviously a classic, just fun one, was, I thought, very good. Otherwise, I thought it was fine. But like, Allie and I have talked about this before. I feel like Super Bowl shows in general just sort of become a little like across the board. But I also think that it's easy to overlook how hard they are. It's really intense 15 minutes of performing, which Usher had, I think I read, one of the longest performances ever. They gave him extra time. So it's very intense performance. But what do you think of it?
It is. The first thing that comes to mind is he's been doing this for so long. He's done so many concerts and tours. This is probably like not very difficult for him, unless he hadn't been performing for a while and he needed to like up his athleticism for a little bit and get back into
those were good. He was dancing well.
His dancing was phenomenal. He channeled Michael Jackson a little bit too much for me with the white glove and all that.
He did. The glove. You're right. Yeah.
A little too much for me on that. The dancing, I think, stood out. The skating part, for me, it kicked off in the beginning slow. Agreed. Like he was already on the stage and just like went through, swam
Like,
through a bunch of
right.
players, dancers frozen kind of in time. To me, that wasn't like I wanted the spotlight on him. I wanted it to be like this moment of him coming out. Like he hasn't been out in a while,
I
so that
agree.
was a letdown.
It's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
But I think the second Alicia Keys came on that in that stage with that red cool piano, curved,
And
beautiful
her voice is just so,
voice.
yeah.
It had a crack right when she started, and I was like,
I heard that too, but she
yeah.
somehow doesn't make that sound bad. Like,
Didn't even matter. She's just
yeah.
phenomenal. So the second I saw their chemistry on stage, for me, it did a 180, and then the rest of the performance was, I thought,
His
phenomenal.
cameos were very good. I mean, there was rumors that Justin Bieber was going to cameo, but they showed him in the
He was
stand.
there with
He was
Haley,
there.
and
I mean,
also
that would have been that. I would have loved that. Just full circle, because remember that performance at
oh,
the
because he found, and also because he didn't Usher. We talked about that. Usher found
I kind
Justin.
of forgot that until recently that he was sort of like,
Right. That's funny. I forgot about that too. That he was
I'm
there.
not lie, he's not just a performer, he's a Justin Bieber maker.
Right. He's a hit maker, sure, with many people. But with the other thing with Usher that I thought was interesting was, so he had all these people come out on stage, right? Her was up there, who's, I think I have not gotten into her enough, but she is but she, I think, is just phenomenal. There was the CeeLo Ozempic character, which ended up being Jermaine
That
Dupri.
was so funny that you told me that, because I mean, I didn't hear that joke until you mentioned it. I just saw who I thought was CeeLo, and I'm like, but he's too
All
skinny.
did.
What's
Yeah.
happened? That he really did look like a skinny Ozempic CeeLo. Yeah.
It was Jermaine Dupri. And then my favorite was, so I actually, full disclosure, I've worked with Lil Jon in the past, and he is probably one of the nicest, coolest people I've ever met.
I believe that.
But when I knew him, he had just started getting into like a health kick. So he was drinking a lot of tea. I don't know
Out
if
of his pimp cup.
the guns on this man.
Yeah, he looked good.
Good.
Yeah, so did Usher. Usher took I mean, even though he was sweating buckets, which people have been commenting on, took his shirt off. I mean, he's a tiny. I've met Usher in person. I interviewed him back in like my heydays of a celebrity writer.
Was this when we were in Mexico?
Yes, you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah, I went
I
there.
have a picture with him. We have his concert was huge. Well, that concert was amazing.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
so good. He brought it, and he's just a little small fry. Like he's not. He's like very small. He is. He's little. I mean, I was at least 4 or 5 inches taller than him. He's not a big guy.
A lot.
I mean, I'm tall. I'm 5'10", but he's not big. No. Is my point.
A lot of these guys are not big.
Muscular and small. It almost looks like a little gymnast. But like,
you know, Justin Bieber, all these guys are small. They're all
small. It's just
like the smallest. Yeah.
And he does better. He's like he's a good little mover. Yeah, he did a good job, I'd say overall. And what's funny is, not funny, but like we talked about the halftime shows, I actually think he is the perfect halftime performer.
Perfect.
Like he's like that's a perfect halftime performer.
Because
like,
every single hit, they're upbeat, they're fun. Even the slow ballads just hit differently because of how we listen to them on the
Usher
radio.
is a great pick. He's like, it's just like made for him. Like, because we were talking about this a little bit, and like how I kind of thought halftime show isn't the golden star performance it used to be. It used to be just like, but and I might be wrong about that. I just kind of feel like it's not the golden goose it once was. But Usher is so perfect for it, and like I said, he's been around. That guy knows how to put on a show for sure.
You're not alone in your thoughts, because I see that every year. For some reason, I just always err on the other side. Like last year, Rihanna, a lot of people thought it was lackluster. I thought she was phenomenal. She was also pregnant, which she revealed, and maybe that was also why it felt lackluster in the beginning, because her energy wasn't at the level of maybe someone that wasn't pregnant. Then the year before that, I thought it was Eminem and Dr. Dre and like 50 Cent.
I forgot about that. That one was good.
Here, look at that. You forgot about that. Forgot about Dre. I didn't forget about it, but I think a lot of younger people are not as into these, they're from our generation.
They're kind of pinpointed towards our generation, which I don't hate that at all.
It's interesting. I wonder what that's about. If that's like a strategy for the Super Bowl execs over there, that they know they're targeting like the 40+ crowd more.
They are though. Until this year, that is the demographic of the Super Bowl. It's really not like the younger generation. It's older people.
Although now with Taylor, that might be changing a little bit.
But the thing is, they already knew they got Taylor. They got Taylor's followers. So then
hopefully they're locked in another year. If this becomes a three-fer, right? Like they got a whole nother year of amazing.
It becomes a three-peat, and they're still together. I mean, the internet's just going to explode. It's not going to be able to handle combustion. I don't even know if I can handle what's going to happen.
I also think it's interesting, though, back to the halftime performances, how some of the artists use it as like a platform. Like I remember when J-Lo and Shakira did their thing, J-Lo had this like very like meaningful, like little like few minutes of like, because I watched her documentary on, I forget what it was on Netflix.
I watched that too.
Yeah, I remember she talked about like the meaning behind the cages and the dancers in the cages, and it was all about like immigration. And not
Yeah.
letting cross
Like how
border.
Beyonce does her performances. They're always kind of like a meaning.
Correct. But yeah, I always think about like what triggers certain artists to use that platform for those types of artistic, creative, voicing their opinions, being those types of thought leaders versus like Usher or, Maroon 5 or Lady Gaga, who just
Get
felt
out
like
there and perform. Yeah.
which by the way, Maroon 5 was one of my least favorites.
It was terrible.
It was
Really
terrible. And he's
bad.
whatever, by the way, that's a whole
I'm
nother
just
story.
like not, yeah, side note, I'm just not into them at all
Like,
anymore.
but isn't it because of what happened with his infidelity? Like now everyone's just like,
don't know that. I just like maybe I grew out of their music. I just don't like it. Like I don't really care for the music anymore. There was a time when like I listened to Maroon 5 and enjoyed it. Now I'm just like that performance at that halftime show and just him as a person overall. I'm just not into it. Like I'm
not into it. That's just what happens. I feel like it's the same with the Will Smith effect. Like even though he's a wonderful actor, like ever since he slapped at the Oscars,
yeah,
it's hard to want to like someone and root for them, and like
I just like it's like I'm ambivalent towards Adam Levine. Like I just don't care about you. Like you're not on my radar to even. I can't believe I'm talking about you this long on my podcast. Like I don't care about you.
And on that note, that's our wrap up. Any plans for next year's performers?
It's not going to be Taylor.
Well, what if it is?
No, they'll never get her.
Wait a second. She was asked a couple of years ago, but it was during her transition of, remember how like Scooter Braun had bought out her music and there was that whole like
I mean, okay, all right, here. Okay.
That's why she turned it down. Because she was in the middle of like re-recording.
If Kansas City gets the Super Bowl, she might. And they're still together, she might. And then, like I said, that's more than a combustion. I can't even handle what that's going to be like.
I can't handle the thought of it.
If they get to the Super Bowl, she might do it. Or do a cameo on someone's or something. She might. I
think they're the type of couple that would propose like on camera there at a show, or it would be like a private.
Well, I used to think so. We talked about this in the last episode, but now I kind of do. With all these like posed kisses and these like big moments, I'm like, you know what? You're right. You're right now is wrong. I think it is going to go that way. It's just going to be like, like a show ring. Like, yeah. And I wasn't sure of that because even though she puts her love life on her albums, she can be sort of private in some ways. But now I'm like, this relationship is so unprivate in every way.
So unprivate. Even though neither of them are talking about it really, like
so public that I'm like, this would be I don't, and he makes comments about, they talk about it to the press. I mean, it's just so out in the open.
But in general, they're not really talking about it a lot. It's more that just everyone's picking up on all the content around them.
They're not like no comment. Like, like he talked about her Grammy wins. He talked about how I told her I'd bring some hardware too. Like they make comments on each other. They're not just like, I mean, Jay-Z and Beyonce don't ever do that. Certain couples don't ever do that. They're like, no, we don't talk about that. But they don't. I'm just saying it's a lot more out in the open. So they might have a public proposal. I'm not opposed to that idea anymore. Or like it might
not either. And I can't wait to see how this all unfolds. And just real fast on Beyonce, you saw she announced during the Super Bowl a new, I think it was a new album or a new single that was coming off a new album that she'd been working.
I don't even care about her anymore.
She had like one of the biggest stories. In fact, Jay-Z got pretty off. Remember at the Grammys, if you had one out.
I'm just laughing because it was so Beyonce stage.
I know.
I'm just like Beyonce. And I'll admit I like Beyonce, but I've never been I'm going to use the term Kool-Aid. I've never been as Kool-Aid drinking with her as
same.
But maybe it's because I never saw her live because I converted to a T-Swift. I converted to a Swiftie when I went to the Eras Tour concert. That is what did it. So maybe if I went to Beyonce show, I'd be singing a different tune, literally.
So I have been to a Beyonce show before. Didn't convert me. I still think she's phenomenal. I love her, but I still not like her class. But I do think she's an icon. Taylor, funny enough, you mentioned I've never been to a Taylor show. And full honesty here, I'm not like a full-blown T-Swift fan when it comes to like her albums and her music. I'm just a fan of like her as a brand. And I do like her music.
I wasn't either. If you saw that concert, I'm telling you, I feel weird even saying this because I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, I liked her. I was like, whatever. She's kind of annoying, but she's so talented. It was just like a 180. That concert was that good. It was that good.
I mean, everyone is selling out and she won her Time
It was honestly one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. I mean, it was so good. So yeah, that's what did it for me. But yeah, we could talk about this all in all. But yeah, overall, very successful game. Very successful time for the Swifts. And we should call them the Swifts. I'm sure Travis would love that.
All right, guys. Well, this was our little take on Super Bowl and the performances and the celebrities. And we could, of course, like Liz said, I call Liz Fold, could go on and on about this. But we'll save it.
Tap out sometime. And it's not a holiday today, even though most people think that this should be a holiday. 16 million people call out of work. So
in the US at least.
In the US, yes, in the US. So that's it for this. We're wrapping up the gameplay. Game day wrap up is over.
Wrapping up, guys. So definitely leave us comments. Please leave us some ratings on our show. Subscribe to us.
And let us know what you want to talk about too. Like, this is new, so we're still kind of really open to like, you have a topic, we'll dive into it. Like,
and it can be about anything, really, guys.
Anything. So
we'd love to take it on. Yep.
Don't hold
All right,
back.
well, we'll see you on another
Thank
episode.
you.
Thank you for listening. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.